Welcome to the online database development program by computer aided therapeutic discovery and design platform CAT2D. And the title of this session is Introduction to HTML. My name is Makina Jibran. The expected learning outcomes are one, understand the basics or the basics of HTML, understand what are HTML attributes, tags, and elements, understand the structure of an HTML, then HTML tables and list. So what is HTML and why are they very important in web scraping? HTML simply stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext for the HT, markup for the M, then language for the L. So what is hypertext? What is markup? And what is language? But before we go delve into that, how does the term HTML even comes to exist? A little bit of history. The World Wide Web began as a way to share documents on the internet, which was starting to gain a foothold with other functionality like email and news groups. So it was until 1990 that English physicist Tim Berners-Lee and Belgian computer scientist Robert, while at CERN, introduces HTML to the World Wide Web. So the World Wide Web became very, very important. So what are HTML tags? HTML tags consist of an opening angled bracket and a closing bracket. They normally come in pairs. That is the close opening and the closing. But now normally they come in pairs. But we have what we call the single tags and the container tags. Majorly container tags can't do without coming in pair. But for the single tags, at times you can have them as a standalone, but in most cases they come in pair. So HTML tags are not case sensitive. That is, capital letter HEAD is the same thing as small letter HEAD, and it's the same thing as having them in a mixed format. HEAD with the E in capital letter and the D in capital letter. They are all equivalent. So tags instruct the browser to display HTML document codes. So all those tags tells the browser to display the document in a proper format, and that's the essence of HTML tags. And we have two types. We have the empty tags, that is the single tags. Then we have the container tags. Container tags has a section of text which specifies the formatting construction for all the selected text. So container tags has two tags representing the start tag and the close tag. Then what are HTML attributes? Tags that have attributes which contain additional piece of information provide additional styling to the elements. When you have a tag and you need additional styling to that tag, then you are referring to attributes. You have a tag and it requires additional styling. For example, you have a tag header, then you want to make that header list with red colors. So automatically what you need to do is attach attributes to that tag change the color to green or red, then you can make the font size bold, 12 pixel, 14 pixel, 18 pixel. The font face can be bold, can be italics. So depending on the type of attributes you will be using with your HTML tags. So an example here is the image tag with source attributes. The source attribute is simply the attribute name. The SRC is the attribute name, while the attribute value is the my image.jpg. So it can be your own image, it can be your logo, it can be your anything. So the source automatically link that image attribute to the source of the image. So the source can be directed as my image, it can be in a directory. For example, it can be in your document, that is, it can be in C, then the user slash document slash maybe your folder is video folder, under a video, then you can have your image. So the source simply means the source of the image, where that image is located on your system. That's the source, and that's the attribute name. While the name of the image and the location is the attribute value. The img here is the tag. The src is the attribute name. While that in quotation is what is the attribute value. So and they can come in different phases. It can be for your page. If you have a page, your P represents a paragraph, while the tag P can be the tag, while the color of that paragraph can be red. Color will be the attribute name, while the red will be the. So now in general, the basics of HTML includes having the attribute names, the attribute values, the opening tag, the content, and the closing tag, all together are referred to as the element. So tags marks the beginning and the end of an element. So for an element, the beginning and the end of that element must start with an opening tag and close with a closing tag. And closing tag are always different from the opening tag. So, but they have the same name except that the format, the syntax is actually quite different. So elements are the bits that make up the web pages, and they consist of some kind of structures or expression as shown in the image. So the element has different composition. It has the attribute composition, it has the content composition, then it has the tag composition. The attribute has the attribute name and the attribute value, while the element has the opening tag, which is the A in this case, while the closing tag is the slash A in this case. While the content of the element is the contact us, that's the value. So in this case, we are linking contact us to the URL contact.html. So when a user click on contact us, it redirects that user to contact.html. That's the essence of this basic HTML elements. So what's the difference between tags, elements, and attributes? Tags are used to hold the HTML element. HTML element holds the content, while HTML attributes are used to describe the characteristics of an HTML element in details. HTML's tag starts with less than and ends with greater than. Whatever written within HTML tags are HTML elements, while HTML attributes are found only in the starting tag. HTML attributes can be found only in the starting tags, not in the closing tag. So HTML also tags are almost like keywords where every single tag has a unique meaning. The P is for paragraph, the A is for anchor, and which you can use to link. You can have that for table, that is table. You can have for div. There are many unique meaning for each of the tag. While HTML element specifies the general content, while HTML attributes specify the various additional properties to the existing HTML element. So the structure of HTML. The root is the HTML, followed by the head, followed by the body, while the head goes down to the title. So in your HTML, you start with the HTML, you close it with the HTML, followed by the head, you close the head, followed by the title, you close the title. Then you now move to the body. Then the body can now have the paragraph and other uh, tags and attributes. So the basic structure is this now. If you look at this image here, you'll see that the document type is HTML. Your type can be Microsoft Word. When you save something in Microsoft Word, it is being saved as .docx. If it's PDF, it is being saved as PDF. In this case, we are saving it as HTML. So that's why this document type is HTML. You can see the opening tag of the HTML, that's the root container, and you can see the closing tag of the HTML, that's the this is the closing tag, and that's the opening tag. Then for the head, they are both head and body are within the HTML. They are embedded within the HTML. So as you can see, the head opening tag, the head closing tag. Then within the head, you have the title. Within the head, you have the title. So within the body, you can have the content. So if you look at your web browser, the upper part of the web browser is the head. Why the content that displays for you to see, from filling form to content of your web pages, all are embedded within the body tags, the body section. So another example of the structure is this. We are still referring to the same thing. The HTML is the opening tag and the closing tag, the HTML. Within the HTML, we have the head and the body. Then within the body, we have the content represented and enclosed in div. So as you can see, the HTML structure for a simple web page, we have the menu, the head, the title, the content, the image, the sections, the footer, the sidebar, the list. Many other things can be embedded in an HTML web page. So if you look at this basic example now, within the head, we have the title. And if you look at the output here, the title of this HTML page is called the first example. And if you look at the head of the output here, we have the first example as the title, while the content of that web page says welcome to HTML. So you can actually open your notepad, type this code, save it as .html, then double click on it to see the display output. Another example uh, is formatting of tags. Like I said, we have different tags. Example here, we have the paragraph tags, we have the bold tag if you want to bold in a text, we have the italics tag to italize a text, we have the UL tag to underline a text, we have the BR tag to break a line to move to the next line. Then we have the header tag to give it a heading. The lower the number, the bigger the heading. H1 is the highest, followed by H2, followed by H3, followed by H4. So a text placed between H1 opening tag and H2 closing tags makes that text bigger and bolder compared to that makes it the header tag. Then we also have the font tag, which can have different attributes and attribute values, then attributes name. For font tag, we have some of the attributes here. We have the face area, the color blue, the size 10. So all these are attributes for the. Another example is this, where we have the title as example 2. Then we have the body embedding several text. The first text, which was placed in paragraph and also placed within the header tag. You can see that the level 1 looks bigger because it is placed within the header tag, then also placed within the paragraph. So it creates a paragraph between the header 1 and the next text. While for the second part, which is the place within the header 2 and also italicized within the same fold, then separated by the BR, that is to break the line downward. Then we also have embedded is the font face, the color blue, then the text size 3. Another example is a list. If you want to list your documents or content, you make use of the UL list, the unordered list, then have the list in itemized within the unordered list. Then if it's for the ordered list, you make use of the OL and I have the list within it. So as you can see the difference between the ordered and the unordered. Ordered was label 1, 2, 3, while the unordered were only bulleted. Then also you can link your HTML to images, which I've explained earlier, and get a kind of link to the image in your folder record. And that's the essence of the image, which is a tag. Then the source is the attribute name. Then the address is the attribute. Then aside that, we have what we call the HTML table. So you can actually represent some of your documents content using a table, just like your normal table. It has several rows, several columns, but the opening and closing tag must be the table name itself, while for each rows are represented by TR, while the columns are represented by TD. Example we have here. In this case, we have 3 rows within a table. So for each row has the opening and closing tag. Then for each row now we now have 2 columns. Column 1 says row 1 column 1 and column 2 says row 1 column 2. While the second row has 2 columns, row 2 column 1, row 2 column 2. So we can actually increase the number of rows and increase the number of columns. So the same thing applies to this, and the same thing applies to this. This is a multi-column, multi-row table elements. And you can actually use some of these tools to write your HTML, then display them and check how your codes looks like. Thank you very much for listening.